What's going on, guys? Thanks for joining me in the shop again today. We are on our Project Wrangler build. Thankfully the weather held out for a couple days and the frame cured beautifully, so all the Pour 15 and everything on there is good to go. It's now time today to go ahead and start putting the bump stops on, get the frame flipped back over. After that, we're going to discuss some of the parts we got, some of the parts that we got to get, some of the things that we're going to do, some of the things that we're not going to do, and go from there. So stick around. So the first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to put our new bump stops on. There's nothing special about these bump stops. They're from Crown Automotive. They're just direct factory replacements. We might need to change these and put some taller bump stops on to keep the tires from getting into the body. But we'll see how that all progresses when we get the Jeep all the way put together. For now, these will go in and they will hold the frame where they're supposed to be. I am using new hardware for all of them. It's just a little bit simpler. I've already chased all the threads in the frame, so everything should go together pretty easily. The bump stops themselves are not labeled, but they're pretty self-explanatory. Unfortunately, when I went to take the ones off the donor Jeep, they were, well, the rubber part's completely gone and the mounts didn't want to come out. When we go and discuss the donor Jeep and walk around it and show you all the problems with it that we're going to fix, I will address these bump stops, and more directly I'll address the frame and the problems with it and what we got to fix. So we're going to go ahead and get these bump stops installed so we can get the frame turned back over and hopefully start throwing some suspension on them. So we're going to start in the back and work our way forward. These bump stops with the funny shaped bracket, these go on the very back. So that's going to be the first one that we install on our Jeep today. It goes right like that. So let's go ahead and get her bolted in. Now, if you're going to use an impact like I'm using, don't be too vicious. Once it gets down to the bottom, kind of let off. You don't want to strip the frames on the thread. Strip the threads on the frame, rather. There's not a lot there, so when you get down to the bottom and you hear it start to hammer because the bolt is bottomed out, just stop. Go ahead and throw a wrench on it and see if you need to do any more tightening from there, but don't keep blasting it with this. It's bad news. Alright, so the next one that we're going to install is this little baby bump stop, and it goes right by the spring here. So let's throw it on and see where we're at with that. the last two bump stops go up under where the front axle goes. So we're going to move to the front of the frame and install them. Quick word about bump stops. Now a lot of people just rip these things off and don't really care about them, especially if you have like a stockish YJ or something like that. These things are pretty important, guys. If you don't want your tires to get into your bodywork and roll your fenders in, make sure that you take care of your bump stops. Make sure that you measure them and make sure that you get everything done right. You really don't want to screw around with this. This is the kind of thing that won't really rear its ugly head until you're out on the trail doing something, and then you're really going to regret not doing it. So the last two, like I said, go up here under the front spring. We're going to go ahead and get these two installed and roll the frame over. Alright guys, so taking a quick look around, I will show you the orientation of the bump stops. Now two of them are directional. You'll notice that if you put this one on the wrong way, it's going to hang over the frame. But if you put it on the right way, the bolt holes will line up and it will not hang off the frame. These ones right here, you can't get them backwards, you can't do anything with them. They're symmetrical, so both sides are exactly the same. You can put either one on either side and it's not going to matter. Now moving up to the front, these ones are directional as well. If you put these on wrong, then your bump stop will not be perpendicular to the ground, or parallel to the ground rather. It will be kind of uphill. So make sure you put those on right. As you can see here, there's a contour in the frame that thing sits down in. And boy, what a job that poor 15 did on the frame. It is absolutely amazing. The frame is clean and shiny and brand new, and I'm very hopeful that not only is this going to make it look better, but hopefully it'll keep a little bit of the mud and stuff kind of off the frame. It'll help it come off a little bit easier, if anything, and just clean up better. So let's go ahead and get this frame flipped back over and look at where we're at. All right guys, so we are getting ready to flop this frame over. Now, with all the suspension and stuff off of it, it's a little bit easier. You can manhandle it. I can manhandle this thing and flip it over myself in this state. It's not easy. It's a bit of a pain to get back up on the jack stands, but let's go ahead and give it a shot, see what we can do. And you guys enjoy. All right, what a pain that was. I gotta sit down and take a break for a minute. I'll be right back. All right guys, so we are over here in front of our goodie shelf, and we're gonna talk about a few of the parts that we have and a few of the parts that we still have yet to get. We have most of the stuff all ready to put the bottom end back together. Now these knuckles right here, these look brand new, right? These look pretty sweet. These are actually refinished. I sandblasted these myself here at home. They are off the stock axle. This is my personal favorite coating of self-etching primer and VHT epoxy paint. It gives it a real OEM type finish. Absolutely gorgeous. We also have a new steering box over here. Now this is brand new. I didn't want to try to use the old one. There had a little bit of play in it, so we went ahead and upgraded that. We took our steering box bracket off and we refinished that. Now these are the leaf spring plates for the front end. I tried my best to reuse these, but I'll show you what happened. So here is what the actual plate looked like when I took it off. It doesn't look like it's in bad condition, but you can see here where we've got threads that have cut into the plate on the inside, and we've also got indentations here where the washer from the U-bolt started to bite into it. It was probably loose and started to wear into it. But worse than that, you'll see on the back side here where it was sitting on the axle, it kind of corroded away right here. So now it's just not going to sit flat. If we try to put this on there, it's going to rock around and it's going to lead to some pretty premature wear. You might be able to see where the threads cut into that. You might not. I'll show you another plate that's a little bit worse. But this is what it looked like after we sandblasted it. One of them came, this one in particular, came pretty clean. The threads are undamaged and the studs are in good shape on both plates, so we will keep them around as spares. But this Jeep, they're really inexpensive, so we just went ahead and replaced them. A lot of these parts are peace of mind parts. They don't need replaced, but if we're doing it, we might as well do it right. So that's the story with the U-bolt plates. Now, we also have shocks back here, brakes, new wheel hubs, and we have a full 4-inch suspension kit from Rusty's Off-Road that we're going to be installing. Now, I did opt for his standard shocks that come with it. Not really sure yet if that's going to control the springs. I've heard some things about, you know, controlling springs on a YJ, especially when they're lifted. Now these are the military wrap springs. I did spring for that, so hopefully they're not going to bounce around too much or anything like that, and the springs will be able to be under control by the shocks. If not, then hey, we got to get more shocks. I do have a set of wheel spacers in the back, but they are not for this. They are for a different build, which we will show you here as well. We will go over that very soon. This is what the new piece looks like. These are the new U-bolt plates, and they just look great. I mean, we did get a drop pitman arm with our kit, so we will be installing that on our new steering box. Miscellaneous seals, brake pads, extended brake lines, all new bushings that are already installed in the frame. I went ahead and did that so we could go ahead and make sure it was done. Now, a lot of these parts are going to go on pretty quick, so you guys make sure you stick around and we'll get it all installed. We still have a few more parts to buy for the front end. I would like some new calipers for the Jeep. Really, I'm going to redo the brakes all the way around. They were in pretty bad shape. The Jeep that we got, you'll see when we go over the donor vehicle. It had some good things to it and it had some bad things to it. One of the bad things about it is almost every maintenance item was in terrible condition. So we kind of are where we are with it. So we've really still got to get a few things for the front end. Stuff like, you know, the hardware. We're going to replace all this stuff. It's in pretty bad condition. I'm going to try to sandblast some of it and see if some of it's savable, but it's probably not all going to be savable, and if it's even questionable in a little bit, I'm going to go ahead and replace it. It kind of just goes along with the theme of the vehicle. So, you know what? I'm going to go take a seat and we're going to discuss that. We're going to go ahead and discuss now what this vehicle is going to be, and more importantly, what its name is. So, as far as the name for our project goes, we're going to call this the Galanda Wrangler. I know it sounds a little bit funny, but I love G-Wagons. Rode in quite a few of them when I was in Germany. But I don't like the Kim Kardashian G-Wagons. I don't like the churched up, lipstick on a pig G-Wagons. Now, there's a lot of people out there that swear by G-Wagons. The great military vehicles. I rode in a lot of the G-Wagons that the Bundeswehr had. So that's where I started my love for G-Wagons, not with keeping up with any person on the internet or on, you know, E-Entertainment Network or whatever. So real G-Wagons. Gelände, just in case you didn't know, roughly translated is terrain. So it's essentially terrain car is what it translates into, and that's kind of what this is going to be. This is going to be a Gelände Wrangler, so it's going to be a terrain Wrangler. We want it to kill the terrain. No, but a Gelände Wrangler. I want this to be refined, like a German G-Wagon. I want it to be off-road capable like a G-Wagon. We are putting an OM617 Mercedes diesel in this. I got a couple of them over there. We will go over the engine in another episode. But I think the diesel is going to be a good fit for this. It's kind of short wheelbase, but we're not doing a lot to make this thing really heavy and overweight. So the diesel should do just fine, and if not, there are performance upgrades on the aftermarket for the OM617s to give them a little bit more power. Now, I did opt for turbo diesel, so we can always go by way of cranking up the boost, but the 617s are extremely limited by the fuel pump. So the injection pump is the limiting factor. We can tune it up and get it exactly where we need it to be, but if we do need more power in the long run, we have to have the pump sent off and have bigger elements put in it. Not a big deal. It's a little bit costly, but for what you're paying for, it lasts a long time, and it's from a really reputable company. So haven't decided if we're going to go down that road yet, but if we need to, the option's available. I'm thinking personally, with the 5-cylinder diesel, it should be perfect for this. It shouldn't be cumbersome. It should be nice and peppy. We are keeping the 3-speed auto. I just broke a lot of hearts, right? I want it to be an automatic. I have several vehicles that are manual transmissions, and this one, I just want it to be an auto. We're keeping the stock transfer case as well. We're not doing anything crazy with that. We probably will put a slip yoke eliminator in it. I have a kit over there on the shelf for it, but I'm not sure yet. We might use that for another project as well. You guys are just going to have to stick around and see. As it were, everything's getting kind of ironed out with this vehicle. It's moving along. I hope you guys are excited, and I hope you stay tuned. Make sure you stick around for the next video. In the next video, hopefully, we're going to be walking around the donor vehicle outside. It gets dark pretty early now, so I might have to wait to do a weekend video for that, just because it is so dark, and I want you guys to be able to see everything that's going on with it. So by the time I get off work, it's already dark. It's terrible driving home in the dark, but it is what it is. Anyhow, guys, I hope that you liked this video. I appreciate you hanging out with me today. Thanks for coming back. If it's your first time, thanks for stopping by. Please comment, like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.